it's important to choose a very good title company because we not only are there for you before settlement has happened, we're there for you during settlement time, and then obviously to provide the best services for settlement for all of our clients. And so that's why MBH is really committed to ensure that MBH is always positioned for your successes.
All right, guys, so today we are going to discover what is a title company with Julie Turner from MBH. Julie, thank you so much for taking the time to explain to us all of this amazing information. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much, Brian. Hello on the West Coast.
Yes, awesome. So, what does a title company do? What is a title company? Give us the tea. What is this?
Okay, awesome. So, people are purchasing homes every day. And every day the buyer and sellers are in contact with their real estate agent. And many are unaware that there's so much involved after ratifying a contract. So ratifying a contract is basically just agreeing on the purchase of a home on both sides, the buyer and the seller, and they come to agreement of purchasing this home. And what do we do next? So we hire a title company, we hire a settlement company. Title and settlement company are interchangeable. It's the same thing. So just depending upon where you are in the region, some people say title company, some people say settlement company, but it's the same thing. We are MBH Settlement Group. We are here in DC, and we are here to help you with what happens after a ratified contract. We search records back 40 to 50 years to ensure that title is clear and that the home indeed is eligible to be sold by the buyer. And to make sure that all the most recent things are recorded, we work through all the details and to protect the home buyer and to ensure that the closing and settlement goes smoothly.
Okay, that makes sense. How do you pick a title company, or what makes the difference in terms of picking them? Or I know for MBH, how do you what's the difference?
Sure. So MBH, we've been in business for 27 years here in the DC Metro, Virginia, Maryland area. We have successfully handled over 200,000 settlements, and our 5-star satisfaction rate can be found online in our public reviews, as well as our surveys we do with our clients afterwards. In picking a title company, we see our home buyers, our home sellers, our refinancers, and our real estate agents as our clients, and we work every day to make sure that MBH is positioned for their success. It's about open communication. It's about making sure that we are professional, we know the industry, and making sure that we offer a smooth and professional closing for you and your client.
Yeah, and you mentioned this, okay, so title contracts, you mentioned this great example with title contracts, how, give me that example. You were talking about how the reason you want a good title company is because after the fact, it's not just during the closing time, but even years and years later. What was that example you gave me?
Right. So, for me and for us at MBH, we want to make sure that we have an ongoing relationship with our clients. We're here for you before settlement is happening. We're here for you while settlement is happening, and then we're here for you after settlement is happening. So to give an example, say for instance, a home buyer has been in their home for, 10 years, and they get a new neighbor. And so now you're noticing the new neighbor that's moved in is building a fence. And you look off the window and you're noticing, well, this fence seems a little bit on my property. So they can call MBH Settlement, and while they were going through their settlement process, they purchased a home survey. And so the home survey is basically just showing the boundaries and the borders of their property and making sure that they know what yard is theirs versus who's their neighbors. And they can call us at any time way after settlement to say, hey, we need a survey document. Usually you do retain it when you do the survey, but just in case you lose those documents, we can always get them back up, hand them over to you and say, this is your survey of your home that you purchased 10 years ago. They can go out to their neighbor and say, excuse me, Mr. Smith, here's the proof of my survey of my home. Please do not build your fence right next to my kitchen window. So it's important to choose a very good title company because we not only are there for you before settlement has happened, we're there for you during settlement time, and then obviously to prove your documents and making sure that your property is insured and has a survey, and for examples like what I just gave.
Okay, no, that makes sense. And I guess you probably have stories of people calling you, right? Like,
yeah, we have some nightmares of just random things. Someone owned a property 60 years ago and came and knocked on the door and just got out of jail or something, who knows, and says, this is my property. And the current homeowners can say, no, we purchased this property 5 years ago. We had a great settlement company like MBH Settlement Group, and we got homeowner insurance, title insurance, and it proves that the property is ours. So that is the biggest thing that title and settlement companies do, is making sure that we're passing on the deed ownership of the home throughout the years to the correct homeowner, and that title is clear in order to do so. And so when something like that happens, you're protected, and that is your property, that is your home.
Awesome. Okay, I love those stories. Let's go. Those are so cool. Let's go into, okay, so, we have different people picking title companies. So if you are, if you have a real estate agent, typically they help you with that. If you're an investor, that's a little bit different. Or if you're a wholesaler, it's a little bit different. Or if you're selling by owner, that's a little bit different. Could you kind of touch on that? So
Sure.
Let's start with the first one, like kind of where it's like a little bit in the gray area. So like as an investor, like how do you pick a title company?
Sure. So it's all about educating people. And for me, in my position as a corporate sales and marketer at MBH Settlement Group, of course, a large part of my book of business are real estate agents and buyers and sellers themselves. But I really like to reach out to all those people in the industry of real estate, whether you're a hard money lender, whether you're an investor, whether you're a sale by owner or a buyer and seller themselves, anyone in the mortgage industry, a loan officer. We're here to service everyone that's in the real estate industry. So a settlement company does all the same things for all those different clients. You have a property that needs to settle. You have a property that needs to go from one ownership to the other ownership. And to search title, make sure it's clear, make sure all the deeds are recorded properly, and make sure the settlement is taking place professionally and smoothly. So regardless if you are an investor or a hard money loan officer or a buyer and seller, we work with them daily, and just making sure that they understand we are a settlement company here in the DC area, Virginia, and Maryland, and we're here to service you. But the process is the same. The process is the same for all of them.
Got it. And if I'm not in those particular areas, like how do I pick or find a good title company?
Right. So we have business partners that do settlements outside of the Virginia, DC, and Virginia market. And I'd be happy to refer those services to anyone who's interested. My email is jturner, TURNER, @mbh.com. Again, it's jturner@mbh.com.
And we'll throw it up top.
Sure.
Yeah.
Just reach out to me directly. I'd be happy to help with any real estate settlement needs that you have here, obviously within the DC metropolitan, Virginia, Maryland area. But if you are looking for another title company or settlement company that you need to settle outside of those areas, I'd be happy to connect you.
Awesome. So what is it like, I guess, like so if I'm in the DC area, like what is it like working with MBH? Like how does that look like? I guess like if I'm thinking about, just like giving you guys a call, or like how does, I guess how would you describe that?
Right. So for MBH, we want to make sure it's a very streamlined process. We want to make sure it's a very easy, streamlined process. We currently have a new agent and buyer seller resource hub. It is everything you need and all one click away. It's secure, it's consistent communication. We have closing flexibility. We have 2 electronic closing options, especially in the unfortunate world of COVID. We want to make sure that we keep our clients safe and feeling good about, wanting to close, but securely. We have the ability to deposit electronic EMDs, which is your earnest money deposits. And then we obviously provide title insurance to our buyers. We're dedicated to all of our partnerships and communities. A portion of each of our closing is donated to a designated community nonprofit and service organization, which makes me feel really good about what we do too and giving back to the community. And so we have these tools for our agents to make sure that they are successful in this crazy market right now, and making sure that they can educate their buyers and sellers.
That's so good. No, it's good. Yeah, the market is definitely, things are moving quick. So
very quick. Yeah.
What's I guess like in terms of cost association, so like does the buyer pay for the title company? Does the seller, like how does that typically work in terms of cost splitting or sharing? Or could you talk a little more about that?
Sure. So here in Virginia, and again, there's different jurisdictions for different counties and states. I'm not aware of anything outside of DC, Maryland, and Virginia. So I do want to start off by saying that. But I know in the state of Virginia, there is a settlement fee for the buyer, and there's a settlement fee for the seller. So at the end of settlement, towards the end of settlement, as you're sitting at the settlement table, there's a document called the ALTA, and it is a very itemized list of all the fees that are incurred with closing your transaction. So obviously the monies that are being exchanged from the buyer to the seller in the purchase of the property, there's fees from the lenders, there's fees from the title company, and there's fees, unfortunately, that you cannot surpass from taxes.
No.
So whatever county or state you live in, they're going to charge you taxes on your property. Yeah. So with this ALTA document, you can see itemized line by line what you owe to the title company, what you owe to the mortgage company, what you owe to, the seller as the buyer of the property. In Virginia, as stated, there is the buyer's side of fees and there's the seller side of fees. I know there's parts of Maryland where the buyer is responsible for all the settlement fees. However, that can be negotiated. Everything in real estate is negotiated. Everyone who's in real estate knows that anything and everything in real estate can be negotiated. So, but there are some jurisdictions in Maryland that I am aware of that the buyer is responsible for all settlement fees. And so a lot of times the agents will go in and say, okay, let's negotiate this. Let's split it 50-50, and they split it 50-50. So again, depending on what jurisdictions, what state you're in, the fee is definitely communicated to the individual parties.
That makes sense. Okay. So it just kind of depends, like how the sales going, or like the market, how the market's doing. Do you need a closing attorney? Like that's a common question. It's like, what is this?
Yeah. Great. So one thing that MBH stands out, and one thing that we're very proud of, is that we have 20 different offices here in the DC Metro, Virginia, and Maryland area. Within our offices, we have 20 managing title attorneys that can assist you with your settlement needs, as well as title professionals. And so not all settlement companies provide a title attorney. You don't need a title attorney to settle, but it brings a little bit of, I guess, insurance to know that there's an attorney that's looking at a very legal document. A lot of documents, if not all documents within a real estate transaction, are a legal document. It's helpful to have a real estate title attorney take a look at the documents, explain the documents to your buyers and sellers. You, at any time as a buyer and seller, have the right to hire legal representation outside of title companies, outside of your real estate agent. But here at MBH, we have those licensed professional title attorneys to help you with your process.
Yeah, like they're on staff, like just as a little bit of extra insurance, right, kind of.
And they're the ones to sit at the end of the table at closing time to explain the documents that you're signing.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Okay, so 2021, everything, or 2020, everything kind of changed and stuff, like with how we kind of do stuff. Like, how does that look like in 2021 with doing title? Is it done virtually? Like, how does, for people who are wondering.
So, I think everyone in our industry in real estate has just had to pivot. The unfortunate part, I believe, in our industry is, it's been such a belly-to-belly industry. We're people lovers. We love people, and I still miss that very much. But we've all had to pivot, and we've all had to become friends with Zoom and meet people that way, which has been some silver linings as well to that. But here with MBH, we've been always actually technology driven forward. We had this in place prior to COVID. So when COVID hit, it was just a simple, if anything, just moving forward more with our technology that we have. So again, with depositing an EMD, we have the ability to deposit it electronically. It's as simple as when you deposit a check into your online banking, taking a picture with your smartphone. It's something very similar to that. So it's very secure, it's very simple. Agents love it. We also have the ability to do hybrid closings. So again, as long as the lender, the mortgage company, is okay with having all electronic signatures on the documents, we do have the ability to do 100% virtual closings. If not, we do a hybrid closing, which is some documents are signed via electronically, and then some documents we can overnight or mail, or you can come to the office and have wet signatures. We do hybrid. We've done curbside closings. We've done in the front yard closings. We've done homebound. We've had several persons that were elderly and were bedridden, and we've had attorney go out there and sign documents at bedside. We have 20 beautiful brick and mortar offices throughout DC, metropolitan Virginia, Maryland area that are still open for business. We are very strict on our CDC guidelines and making sure everyone's staying safe. We sanitize in between each closings. We have one usage pens, masks, gloves, sanitizer. We do ask that only the parties that are signing to be present. We have a large conference room where you can be 6 feet apart, obviously taking in consideration of just making sure that everyone stays safe within this time. But we have so many different ways to do settlements and closings. We do settlements and closings that are international. We have people who are in Egypt, Dubai, and Africa that need to close, and we are able to do that as well. So I believe that we've been very innovative in making sure that we provide the best services for settlement for all of our clients.
And just kind of wrapping up here, like, what's the typical timeline for, I guess, title and settlement and all this,
Sure.
if you're going through the process?
Right. So the typical, and again, this is the typical closing and settlement, 30 days is usually typical. So you ratify a contract, the agent themselves have to go through their whole process of home inspection, appraisals, whatever addendums that need to be crossed off their checklist. But soon, right after you ratify, you do hand over your contract to a settlement company, and it takes about typically 30 days to settle and pass the keys from the seller to the buyer.
Awesome. That's so good. So for, I guess, maybe at the future of the industry, where do you see the market going more so, for title and settlement?
Sure. So I think, we hope and we want the world to open back up, right? And like I said, this is such an industry that's belly to belly, and such an industry that is personable. And I hope that it does open up to a certain degree, that we can still have those close-knit relationships personally, belly to belly. But I think at the end of the day, so much can be seamlessly done via virtually, via electronically. And so many things are being implemented to make sure that we have a secure portal and hub in which agents and clients can go into and communicate regularly with our title company to make sure communication is there, make sure all the documents are there, make sure all the signatures are needed are there. So I do see that I think we are moving forward, going to continue to be more electronic and virtual, but we are open to servicing our clients in which they are comfortable with. So if it's still pen and paper for them, we're still here for you, pen and paper.
Cool. No, that's good to know. Okay, awesome. Sweet, Julie. Is there anything else, any other questions I didn't ask that maybe, I didn't cover? Anything else?
Sure. So I do want to cover one more thing for MBH. again, we just opened and launched a new resource hub online. It's everything just one click away. You can get a quote, you can place an order, provide documents to your buyers and sellers so they know what happens next within the settlement process. You can log into a secure document portal to track closing processes, communicate securely. There's a resource library where agents can find a tool from what to bring to settlement closing for your clients to an electronic version of our home buyer guide. And we actually just got our home buyer guide translated into Spanish for all of our Spanish speaking community. And so that's huge. I mean, I guess that goes along with kind of just, again, being electronic and being able to reach our clients and giving them tools electronically. And also coming May 3rd, we have our annual Cinco de Mayo continuing education class. So every year for the last 3 years, we've provided a all-day class of continuing education. That's something that you have to have as a real estate agent here in DC, Maryland, and Virginia. Pre-COVID, we used to do it in person. We would, obviously have a big party and have CE classes and sponsor lunch and things like that. But now via Zoom, it's still just as fun. We have a panel of professionals in our industry, brokerages, mortgage loan officers, obviously MBH Settlement Group, and we just educate our agents about what's happening in the market, what we foresee is going to happen, and just having great communication of sharing successes and challenges with what's going on in our market today. After that, we have 3 hours of continuing education for our agents. And then we have our virtual happy hours. So we have prizes, giveaways. Last year, I think we gave away like a margarita machine. So it's so much fun. We have great attendance. This year is via Zoom. You register online. Again, if you need any more information on that and want to register yourself, you can contact me at jturner@mbh.com. So that's always a fun, exciting event that we have every year. But just wanted to wrap up and let you know that business is built upon strength and your relationships, and those relationships are built on trust. And so that's why MBH is really committed to servicing, continuing industry innovation and our partnerships. And we're driven to ensure that MBH is always positioned for your successes.
I love that. So for getting a quote on the online hub, like how does that work? Is it like you just put your information in or
Sure. Yeah. So you go on mbh.com and there's a tab that comes down and it'll just say get a quote. So whatever, let's say you have 123 Main Street and you want to kind of know what the closing costs are going to be for that 123 Main Street for your clients. You go in there, it just prompts you for questions. What's the address? What's the price of the home? Just different items of, what's the
different things, I guess, associated that might like affect, I guess, like the cost or something like that. Yeah.
Right. I mean, and it's very, very simple. Just, the address and just whatever information it prompts you to put in, you put in. And then at the end, it'll give you a ballpark figure of how much your price of settlement will be. But then also, again, reach out to me directly. We can make a very pretty kind of co-marketing price sheet for you as an individual agent. That's another thing we do to help our agents. We co-market with them. So it'll just be a really pretty sheet and it'll say itemized list of all the fees and costs that are associated with settlement with MBH. It'll have the agent's picture, name, contact information, and we can provide that for you as well. So, but you can go online at any time and just kind of get a quick quote.
Cool. Awesome.
Yeah.
Sweet. Julie, thank you so much for chatting and sharing some stories and all about titles and what is this, so.
Awesome. I've had such a good time, Brian. I can't thank you enough for inviting me today.
My pleasure. Cool. Until next time.
Yes.